Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. A lot of people will tell you that Zach Snyder is a hack, an untalented, pretentious person who has no right directing. And that's not really true, at least not all of it. Zach Snyder has a great visual sense. He's able to arrange and create imagery that is really remarkable at times. He has a great eye. And that's the problem. He thinks he's a director when he'd probably be better suited as a cinematographer. And if you look at his movies with anything approaching a critical eye, I think that's an inevitable conclusion you'll reach. His movies look good, but they don't have anything more than that. Not really. And I mean, for every movie I've seen of his, from Man of Steel through what I could watch of Sucker Punch, which is literally, as far as I'm concerned, unwatchable. The man has a great eye, but is not a great director. He's not, to be totally honest with you, he's not even a good director. He's at best a passable director. And his latest, Army of the Dead, proves exactly that. Snyder wrote the story the movie is based on, and you can tell because it's such a weak story. The movie revolves around a zombie outbreak and eventually infestation and takeover of Las Vegas, and a bunch of mercenaries led by, not Vin Diesel, Drax. His name's eluding me, but the dude who plays Drax, have to go in to get the money and survive while doing so. It's essentially a heist movie with zombies. Now that's not a bad thing in and of itself, but the thing is you have to understand something about Zach Snyder. He has this tendency to not want to follow established rules and norms, that he's very rebellious and idiosyncratic, and he's not. He's not at all. He's just a bad storyteller, using hyperbole to cover up the fact that he's a bad storyteller. And, as I said, Army of the Dead is proof of it. Or any film that he's done which has come from his mind, like Sucker Punch. Unwatchable. Army of the Dead is not unwatchable. It's also not a very good movie, entirely because the story is so weak. As I mentioned, it's a heist movie, but there is a question. Namely, how did Las Vegas become infected with the dead? This is dispatched in the opening of the movie. This is the movie I wanted to see. The opening of Army of the Dead is interesting and glorious, and that's the movie I wanted to see. It's not the movie Zack Snyder wanted to make, though, but it is the movie I wanted to see. And sure, it would have perhaps been comparable to something like The Walking Dead or a typical zombie movie, but that's fine. Make, I don't know, a trilogy. Start with how Las Vegas was overrun by zombies. The second part of your trilogy would be the mercenaries entering the city. And the third part would be whatever you want. But point being, there's a story that opening to this movie is telling. But it's more interesting than the movie itself, which is a problem. And as I've said before, Zack Snyder is not a good writer. And here's more evidence of that fact. After the opening, we come to learn that the military is transporting a cargo. We don't know what it is, but it's very secure, lots of escort vehicles. Clearly, it's something of importance. And through a very contrived manner that makes no sense, the vehicle transporting this object crashes. And whatever they were transporting escapes. And we learn it's some type of super zombie, which is so dumb. Why is that dumb, you might add? A, because zombies don't run. Zombies don't do parkour. Zombies aren't muscular because they're dead. Muscle, if it's not alive, doesn't build. These zombies are like acrobats. It's ridiculous, but that's not the only problem. Earlier in the scene, the people driving the truck, which eventually crashes, are discussing things. And one of them lets slip that they're coming from Area 51. You've heard of Area 51, I imagine. It's the place where the United States military has certain secret projects, fighter craft, and that type of thing. It originates from Area 51. But there's a lot of lore revolving around Area 51 being somehow involved with aliens. Why not make it an alien in that truck? An alien that, I don't know, infects people and turns them into zombies. It's a great idea, and the worst thing is he actually establishes it, but goes nowhere with it because he's so fixated on this idea of zombies as muscular, as parkour artists, and he doesn't seem to even hear better ideas, even when he apparently presents them. Well, he directed, he co-wrote it, but there are other people in the room as well. And clearly, he didn't even consider it. Well, I don't know if they offered it, frankly, but I get the feeling if they did, he would have not considered it anyway, which is a pity. Another thing that bugs me about Snyder, which I mentioned earlier, but I want to expand upon, is he likes to think of himself as edgy, as somehow cool. This irritates me to no end. You want edgy? Check out Scorsese's Taxi Driver. But guess what? Scorsese isn't Martin Scorsese. He didn't call himself edgy. John Frankenheimer never called himself edgy. Never. Why is that? Because they were too busy creating. If you have to say you're edgy, you're not edgy. Zach Snyder is not edgy. Not even close. And Army of the Dead is not an edgy movie. Let me give you an example of how it's not edgy. There are two characters. He's a German who they need to crack the safe in Vegas once they get in. This guy is very much gay. Now, hold on. When I say that, I mean he acts very fey, very flighty. He flirts with a member of Drax's, or Dave Bautista, just popped in my head. He flirts with a member of his team. There's nothing edgy about this. It would have been approaching edgy if he would have not only had the German character gay, but have the member of Bautista's team fall in love with him. Because at a certain point in the movie, he gives his life to Bautista's team member. If there were a couple, or at least an impending couple, that would make sense. That would be logical. You've given your life for someone you love. In the context of the movie, it makes no sense. He doesn't know this man. He is kind of gay, but not really, because Zack Snyder, as edgy as he is, isn't a big enough man to have a gay character, an openly gay character in his movie. Tig Notaro's in his movie as well, but not openly gay, ironically. So, the idea that Zack Snyder is edgy or somehow controversial is ridiculous. He's irritating. He doesn't respect canon. He did the same thing with the DCEU. He didn't respect Superman's life. He didn't respect Superman's legacy. He didn't respect the history of Batman. And we got that monstrosity known as Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. He does the same thing with zombies, a genre popularized by George Romero. He's changed everything that makes it interesting. So it becomes kind of flat and somewhat boring. Visually spectacular. It's a great looking movie, but boring. This is the effect Zack Snyder has on virtually everything he touches. He doesn't understand nuance. He doesn't understand subtlety. So therefore, he can never be edgy. He can never be challenging because nothing he does is challenging because he's not particularly challenging. And Army of the Dead proves it. It's such a mediocre movie. A mediocre movie with a huge budget because it's gorgeous, it has great special effects, has some innovative gore effects, but it's not a very good movie because Zach Snyder is not a very good director, though he would be an awesome cinematographer. So what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow. And everyone who has decided to follow Screen Files, thank you. Peace.